reporting in Salesforce is one of the key functionalities of having a CRM. So it's not only to keep track of what your customers are doing and what the next steps are with your clients, whether it be service or sales or marketing. We also want to be able to understand that data and what we can do with that data. And that's where reporting and dashboards comes in as a very strong component of Salesforce.com. So we can find reports in the Reports tab right here. If we click on that, we can see that the default view is recently viewed reports. That is something that sometimes people will click on reports and won't be able to see a report they're looking for. Make sure that you're either looking at all items, or you can do a search for reports by typing here in the quick search box. So you can also create a new report and a new dashboard from this page. Other functionality is you have here quite a few folders that are available that contain different reports. You can see here we've got them on support, leads, sales, and one thing as an admin that you may want to do is, if you have a lot of folders here, hide the folders so that your users can only see the ones that apply to them. Otherwise, it can get overwhelming if they see all sorts of folders here, especially about things that don't pertain to them. For example, if you've got a support rep, they don't need to see leads or sales or campaigns, things like that. So that's one thing that you may want to note. You can create new folders here, new report or dashboard folder, and if you have a lot of folders here, you can also use the quick search bar to narrow that down to what you're looking for. So there is another way to review data in Salesforce that a lot of people use, and that is list views, customized list views. These are really easy to create. You can see a lot of data in them. You can even sort. You can do mass edit on these, which is an extremely valuable function. Now, where custom list views fall short and where reporting comes in handy is the ability to group by certain characteristics, the ability to summarize data, and the ability to filter data on a more refined level. So moving on to reports and dashboards. Dashboards, just to give you a definition, are a visual representation of one or more reports. So here, this dashboard has 3 components, and this represents 3 different reports. So if I was to click on this component, it would take me to that closed sales report, which is feeding the data. We can see here that it is summarizing data, the sum of the amount. The grand total is $1,500. If I go back using the back button to that dashboard, see year to date. It's interesting. Oh, this hasn't been refreshed for a while. That's one thing that you'll want to note. Notice how when I clicked on the report, we were seeing a total of 1,500. Notice the date range is from this current and previous quarter. If we go to the dashboard, and this is one of the pitfalls to be aware of, notice how we're 2.27 million. Well, that's a huge difference. Dashboards have to be refreshed. One of the reasons that Salesforce doesn't automatically refresh the dashboard every time you open it is because each one of these reports has to be rerun when the dashboard is refreshed, and you can have up to 20 components on this dashboard. And if you were to click on a dashboard and have to run all 20 reports at the same time, it would take quite a long time for that page to load, and the response time of loading that page would make it cumbersome to go into the dashboard. So here, someone can refresh the dashboard manually, or you can schedule it to automatically refresh at certain intervals. But you'll notice that the last time this was refreshed was June 28th. So this data is by no means current. Let's refresh that dashboard now. Notice how all three of these are running. So it's running all three of those reports in the background, and as soon as it finishes running those three, it will update the charts to reflect the fresh data, and you can see now that 15,000 here matches what we saw in the underlying report. So let's go and talk a little bit about the out-of-the-box functionality that Salesforce provides. So if we go here to reports, Salesforce provides many dashboards and reports right out of the box that you don't have to build, you don't have to do anything with. So we can see that we have an adoption dashboard, company performance dashboard that's already built in. These have information about typical reporting patterns that sales organizations or companies, including sales and service, may want information about. So those are contained right out of the box. You can go in and modify those if you want, which is actually a great way to start in your reporting and dashboard experience. So you can say, let's say if you want to change this from a gauge to some other type of component, you can just drag that over, drop it on there, and it's as simple as that. In the same way, we can go, I'm not going to save that one since I don't want to save those changes. If we go back to reports, there are many, many reports that are included right out of the box, and we can take a look at those. So I apologize about that. We can see here that a lot of the standard reports are labeled sample in front of the name, so we can see a sample report of accounts. And we've got information here summarized by created date. We can see that the created date is custom. We don't have any filters for time, so this is all time. And out of that, we've got 25 accounts here created in the following months. Now, one of the things that is easiest to do when creating or modifying reports is to modify an existing report. For example, we'll use this one as an example. Let's say that we want to customize this report, so I clicked on Customize. Let's add a chart to this, and let's notice it automatically defaults to the horizontal bar chart. We can say, let's do a donut chart, and so we can see the different sections are the different months, and then we can change that and format that. Let's say, let's show us the percentages. We can show the values, and we can show the total, which is one of the advantages over just the normal pie chart, is that we can see all of the components, but we can see what makes up the total. And then chart position, we can see that's taking up a lot of space. actually, the position, we're going to do it on the bottom. And so that allows for a little more screen space, or if you wanted to, you could even put that on the chart. And we make that chart size, let's make it a large size. We can't see it here, but we will be able to see it there. Now pay attention to one thing here. Notice, notice that we only have 20 records here, and we know that we just had 25. One of the things when you're creating reports with the report builder is that the preview shows only a limited number of records. So it only pulls a sample of the records. Let's say you had 1,000 records in there. If you were to make changes in this, it would take a long time for this to refresh, but since it's only pulling 20 records, you can make changes to it. I'm going to show the details so that I can add a field and show you how quickly it can update. Oh, it was already on there. So notice how quickly it refreshed. It was almost immediate. So that's one of the reasons that they only do a sample of the record. So let's run the report. And we can see here now that we've got graphical representation of the data that we just had playing right there. Now, as far as standard reports go, you cannot make changes over standard reports, so you'll have to do a save as, and then change the name, put whatever name you want. Let's say accounts created by month, and I'm going to put that in an unfiled public report so that others can see it. If we put it in my personal custom reports, that means that only I can see it. So I'm going to click on that, click Save, and return to report, and so now everybody will have that visible. Another way that you can access a lot of good report and dashboard information is through the App Exchange. So if we go to the Salesforce App Exchange and type in dashboard, we can see that there are a lot of hits for that. And notice that the Salesforce Labs has quite a few of them, and these are free. So you can get lead and opportunity dashboards, service support, chatter usage, sales activities, Salesforce CRM, knowledge base. There are a ton of reports and dashboards that you can download for free. And you can custom tailor these to meet any of your needs because it's not a managed package that you're downloading. It is open so that you can make any changes that you want to. So that's an extremely valuable source of information and additional reports and dashboards. All right, so let's talk a little bit about report types. So if we go back here to reports, if we click on the new report, the first thing we have to do is select a report type. As you can see down here, we have different groups of objects, and right now we have a list of all the standard objects that are in there. We don't have any custom objects built in this org at this time. But when a custom object is created, a report type is automatically created for that custom object, and it will show up here either in the quick find or if you look in the appropriate drop-down folder. So choosing the correct report type is vital in getting the information that you want, because if you have information that is stored in one object but your report type is another object, then you may not get all of the data or any of the data that you're looking for. So that's one of the reasons that using an existing report and modifying it and doing a save as is so valuable, because you already have the report type that is getting you the data that you want, and you don't have to worry about choosing the right one or not making the right choice on that. So let's go with contacts and accounts. So if we create that, you can see down here on the left that we have groups of fields. I'm just going to collapse some of these really quick so you can see an overview of what we have. Okay, so the report type here is contacts and accounts, so that means that we are pulling records from the contacts object and the accounts object. We can see here that we have general or standard fields from the contact, address fields, phone, email, fax. Then we have account fields here as well. So you can go down, scroll through these to find the fields that you're looking for, or you can use the quick find here, which is very quick and convenient to be able to find the data that you're looking for. Notice that when you create a report, it includes a lot of fields that Salesforce considers standard for this type of report. You can either drag these off one at a time, you can click the drop down and remove the column, or if you just want to start from scratch, you can click remove all columns. Just ask you, do you want to do that? Yep, I do want to do that. And so then you can either go over here and drag them onto the report, and you can drag them and put them wherever you want to. Or another thing you can do is to double click on it and it will just add it to the end. Another thing that you can do if you want lots of data on there, for example, I want all of their contact information, I can grab the folder, drag the folder onto there, and notice that it included all of the fields within that folder right at the end. So that's another shortcut to be able to add fields there. Now let's see. So we have different types of reports that we can work with. There are 3 basic types on this particular report. We have tabular, which is essentially like a spreadsheet. You have columns across the top, and you're going to have rows down the side, which are the records. Let's see, all accounts. So then you can also do a summary report, and what this allows you to do is to group the information there. I'm going to group it by the account name. I'm going to drag there, drop it here to create a grouping, and now I've got ABC Company. Now, notice that only one record is showing up here. We know from that previous report that we looked at that there are 25 accounts in our org, but yet only one is showing up here. This is one of the common pitfalls as well. Where is my data? Why isn't it showing up here? One can be report type, but the most common is an unintended filter on the report. So if I look here, I don't see any filters right here, but there is a filter saying show me only accounts where the created date is from October 4th. So if I clear that out and click out of that field, all of a sudden we've got 20 records, which is a lot more, but again, this is a preview of a limited number of records. So, and now we can see that we were able to group these by account name. And then another thing that we can do is we can, if we have certain information numerical information, we can summarize that. So let's say the account, I double-clicked on that, it put it down here at the end. We can do things in the report with that information. We can say, bucket this field so that it will show us information about, let's see, income, or let's say revenue range. And so we can say the first range is less than or equal to, let's say, $20,000, and we'll say up to $20,000. Then we're going to add another one. We're just going to say 20. So it's already got 20,000 as the base, since that's where it is here. And so we want to say up to, we're going to say $100,000. And here we're going to say 20,000 to 100,000. And then the last one automatically is just going to say greater than 100,000. So we'll create that name. Then 100,000. And then treat empty annual revenue values in the report as zeros. That's what we're going to do. And so notice that you can actually group or bucket on any of these fields that are available here. We're going to just keep it on annual revenue. We'll click OK. And so notice here that we've got that revenue range. I'm going to get rid of some of these fields really quick so that we can see this all on one screen. Okay, so revenue range, it tells us what range that's in. I'm going to take the account name. Well, let's see what this looks like. So we've got it by account name. If we hide the details, we can see that just how many records we have, how many contacts we have in each account. And then what we can also do is, let's customize that. Let's go to annual revenue. Let's click summarize this field. We can either average it, get the maximum amount, the minimum amount, or sum. Let's sum that account. And because we've got it grouped by account name, it's going to give us a grand total as well as totals for each group that we have. So notice here at 0, we have 100,000 there, and then down here we have a grand total of everything. Let's change that, what we're grouping by. I still want to see the account name, so I'm going to drag that over here. So we've got the account name, but I want to group by this bucketed field, the revenue range. Let's run the report now, and we can see that most of our clients are over $100,000. We don't have hardly any under that. So, excuse me. So that's just those are just some things that you can do with reports. Another thing that we can do is we can add filters. There are some built-in filters. We can say, let's just look at my contacts, and that will show only the ones I own, my accounts, my teams, which would show not only mine, but those for users that report directly to me, or all accounts. We can sort by date fields, last activity, which is the last task or event that was logged on that particular record, or we can do email bounce date, last activity based on the account, or we can filter on the contact. We're just going to leave that blank for right now, but let's add a custom filter. You can click down on the triangle and add a field filter, filter logic, or a cross filter, And let's go through and do some of those, show some examples. Notice that I can't add filter logic because I don't have any filters on there. Let's add one to say, and let's say I'm just going to type in this field to jump to the field that I want. I will look at revenue. So notice that it returned only those fields that include REV. So I want to filter on annual revenue, and I want to say, notice how we have all these records with no revenue. I want to see only records that have at least some revenue. So I'm going to say annual revenue is greater than 0. So we'll click OK. Notice it filtered out all of those. So let's add another filter that says, let's see, I only want to see records that have a lead source. I want to see information about my accounts that have revenue that I know where they came from. So let's say, again, we're going to type in here lead, and it went right to lead source. Lead source is not equal to, and I'm going to leave that blank, and then click OK. And so it has narrowed that down to that area. Now if we want, we can now say, the default is that it's going to say 1 and 2. We can say 1 or 2, and so that gives us a very different result. So we do have ones that have no annual revenue, but they do have a lead source. And then we have ones without a lead source but do have revenue. So they meet one of these criteria, so they're included. We can also do a cross filter, and we can say, show me, let's say, contacts with activities or some other, let's say, with an opportunity. And then we can put one on the opportunity as well and say opportunity, let's see, stage equals, let's say, closed won and closed lost. So we insert those, click OK, and so we've filtered that down quite a bit to get a very narrow range of exactly what we're looking for. So that returned only 4 records. So there are lots of ways to narrow the data down or open it up depending on what you're looking for. Now let's take a look at dashboards and how to create and modify dashboards. So as I mentioned before, notice when you look at a dashboard, look at the last time it was refreshed. The last time this was refreshed was in May. So this data is 6 months out of date, 5 months. Let's click refresh. Notice that it's spinning, meaning that it is refreshing each one of these reports in the background. So it may take a minute for this to run because we've got maybe 10 or 15 reports that are based here. So that was pretty quick, maybe 30 seconds to run that. So what we can do is we can edit an existing dashboard, and I had already mentioned how we can change the visual representation by just dragging and dropping. We can just do that, or if we want to change the source, meaning which report is actually showing here, we can either delete that and notice that this doesn't have a report. And if we've got a visual component without an underlying report, if we try to close it, it's going to let us know that we can't save the dashboard with incomplete components. So this is incomplete because it doesn't have any underlying data. So let's go here to reports and see which reports we've got available. Let's do leads by lead source and put that one in there. And then we can see if the gauge is the component that we want to work for that. It's processing the data again. Notice that 15, that's okay, but notice that the scale that we have, 1.5 million, 500,000, 100,000, the scale is way off. This needle is probably never going to move off of that. So we can go in here and change the breakpoints on this report. So let's say that the first breakpoint is 15, the second breakpoint is 30, the last one is 45. So we're going to, and we can see a preview here of what it's going to look like if we do that. It's visually pleasing on these to do an equal amount between the breakpoints. It makes it really nice. If you don't want to do that, you don't have to. Let's say we do 40, 60, and 100. And notice that, it still looks okay, but it's just a different look to it. If we were to do 5 here, then 60, then 100, notice that it's a little off. It's not as visually pleasing, but if that's what works for you, you can do that. And you can do this type of thing for any report that you're looking at and customize that visual representation similar to the way you can on the original report. I want to look at something here and show you another feature. Let's close this, and let's close without saving it. I'm going to open reports. Let's see, accounts created by month. Okay, so we know that this has a chart on this report already. So let's go back into the dashboard and let's add that component to this dashboard. So I'm going to type in a quick find here, accounts created by month. I want to create a new component, so I'm going to drag that over here. It pushes that one down, and then as far as the component, let's just put a line chart on that, even though we have a donut chart in the other report. Thinking for a moment. Okay, so we see that we've got a line chart there. If we go to the report here, we've got a really nice donut chart here that's giving us exactly what we want. We could go in here and attempt to recreate that donut chart in the same way, but notice that we don't have as many options in the dashboard as we do in the report. See, if we go here into the report and formatting, look at all of these options that we have compared to in the dashboard. We have very few options. One thing that you can do to get that really nice chart in there that you had in the report is click this Use Chart as Defined in the Report. Notice that it looks just like the other one now. And so that's what we're going to do is click OK on that. And we've got our really nice representation directly from the report there. We're going to close, and we'll just do Save and Close so that we can keep that in there. And now we've got that. Now notice that because I pushed this down, this support line moved down too. So it looks a little bit funny. But we can go in here and notice how it says support here. We could just say support there, and let's just say accounts created there. Let's get rid of that one. We'll do close, save and close. And notice that now we've got that up at the top where we wanted it. So those are some things about dashboards, things that you can do about dashboards. Another thing that you can do with dashboards is you can view the dashboard as different people. You can say, run as a specified user, which means that it's going to be, we've selected an admin here, so the user will be able to see all data, whether they have permission to see those specific records. They will be able to see the roll-up summary of those records overall for the whole company. Now, if they try and click down into the record, they will only be able to see what is available to them by using the role hierarchy and other security limitations. So you can also run as a logged in user and let people change that. So if we do that, then we can say, let's run that dashboard. And that way you can view it from the perspective of different users within the company. So they can say, well, I want to view it as myself and only see my data, but I can see this dashboard. There we go. All right, so we can view as Carolyn Adams, or we can do a lookup and say, let's view it as another user. Take a look and see which other users we want to. Oh, I apologize. I'm logged in as a regular user, so I'm not able to view that as other people, but just as myself. So anyway, another thing that you can do is you can put filters on dashboards so that you can say, let's say, created date, what equals or is less than or equal to August 11th. And what that does is it applies that filter to every component in the report so that you don't have to go into each of those reports and apply that filter. So that's something that has come in very, very handy. And notice also here that you can go and apply that. You can change it. You can refresh it. So that's something that you can do a lot of good things with. So some of the pitfalls, again, with reports and not being able to see your data are just, one, make sure that you've got the right, that you can see your object where the fields and the data that you're looking for is contained. For example, if I wanted to see opportunity data and I don't see that here in the report type, it's not going to show up in my report. So you do that when you choose create a new report. You choose the report type, or you can clone an existing report and just do a save as, and that way you'll know you have the right data. Another thing to look out for is the unintended filters that may come standard on the report. A lot of times it will say only my accounts, and if you want to see all accounts, you'll have to switch that, and a lot of times it will come with a date already in here. So created date was from October 9th, and I'm getting no results there. So that's some information about reports and dashboards, and that's all I have to go over today. So if you have any questions, please either raise your hand or type a message in the chat box, and I'll take you off mute and we'll be able to address that question for you. Allison, you've got a question?
I do. Well, actually, two questions. Was this recorded, and when is it going to be available? Because I missed the first part of it.
Yes, it is recorded. It should be up on our website by probably the middle of next week.
Okay. And then I am trying to do a report where I have cases, and the report I have has multiple entries per case. Is there a way to, I've tried to use Bucket so that you're not seeing the multiple lines of the case number. You could use like a pivot table, how you can shorten it or close that for that case and only see one entry on the report. Does that make sense?
So what, when you say multiple entries, are you talking about multiple comments, multiple tabs?
It's actually time entries on the case. So I have a case and it has multiple time entries. I guess it's pulling it by time entry name.
And what is the report record type that you're using? If you the way you can tell that is if you go into a report, if you're following my screen, and let's just go into a report here. I'm going to click Edit. Up here by the pie chart, it'll say Report Types, and then it'll tell you what report type you're using right there.
Okay. It says Case with Time Expense Entries.
Okay, so do you want to see the time expense entry?
I do.
But you only want.
Oh, go ahead.
But you only want to see the case number or the basic case itself one time. Is that right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Now, are you going to be exporting this report?
No.
Or just using it in Salesforce?
I'm just using it in Salesforce.
What I would recommend then, if you want to look at my screen, I'd go to click next to preview the report type, click summary, and then that allows you to group by a field. And
okay.
I would group by either case name or case ID or case number, whichever makes the most sense to you.
Okay.
And then did you try that? Does that work for you?
So it is summary right now. So if I do summary, it should show me that at the bottom.
So did you drag the field onto where it says drop here, a field here to create a grouping?
No. Is that what I want to drag, like the case number?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Just so other people may be able to see what we're doing here. You said it was case with time entry?
Yeah, I think it's a custom that we've got.
Okay. So I'll just do something else. Let's say cases with solutions. So I'll create that. And notice here that it's not showing anything. It's only on my cases. Let's do all cases. And all time. Okay, so we don't have any cases in here. I'm going to go try another one that I know we have multiple records on. So let's do an opportunity report. And let's say opportunities, because it's related to accounts, it will show the account information. That's automatically going to be included. So again, notice that it's automatically put filters on there so that I'm going to get rid of those. I'm going to say all time, all opportunities, any. So let's put in here account name. Oh, it's because it's already got the account name. So that's one other thing. Notice how it turned red and it wouldn't let me put it on there. It's because account name was already on there. So if that happens to you, just look for that field. I'm going to sort by account name. And notice how I've got multiple account names listed multiple times. And so what I'm suggesting to Allison here is that we change this from a tabular format to a summary format, and then we take the account name field, drop it here to create a summary, and now that only, well, let's see, opportunity. So that is only showing the account name once now. It's and then it's just showing the name of each opportunity once. So that's one way to get around having the account name show multiple times in a report.
That's great. Yep,
does that work for you?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Do you have any other questions?
No, I think that's it for now.
Okay.
Very helpful.
Oh, thank you. Let's see if we have any other questions really quick before we finish up. If you have one, raise your hand or type a question in the console. Okay, it looks like that's it. So like I said, this should be on our website by the middle of next week. And if you have any questions, feel free to contact one of us here at Kyazma. On our website, we do have a contact us link, and we'd be happy to answer any of your questions. We will also be having a new user training here in just about 5 minutes, which we do every week. And join us next week for another Ask the Admin session at 10 o'clock Mountain Time and another new user training at 11 o'clock Mountain Time. Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you have a great day.